Hi everyone and welcome back to CricStic SL Sri Lanka Domestic Cricket Summarized. අද අපි අරගෙන ආවා මේ ongoing SLC Major Club 3-day tournament 2024-2025 season එකේ අපේ video series එකේ third episode එක. අද අපිත් එක්ක ඉන්නවා Dellon Peiris. So Dellon Peiris කියන්නේ St Thomas's big match captain කරලා first දැන් professionally cricket ගහගෙන යන කෙනෙක්. රාගම CC එකට සෙල්ලම් කරා දැන් නුගේගොඩ squad එකේ ඉන්නවා. So welcome to our channel Dellon. Very happy to have you.
Thank you all for having me on your show.
Yeah. So as you all remember, we had Roscoe in our previous two episodes. Unfortunately, Roscoe can't make it today. So we have Dellon Peiris to continue to fill in us with the expert analysis and more cricket bring more cricket perspective, because as even just as Roscoe, Dellon is also part of the system. He is actively involved in the game and definitely brings in more value than the opinions that we bring who are outsiders just watching the game. All right, so let's quickly move on to the day's rundown. So as you all know, we cover 2 weeks of matches. So we'll be covering the 6th and 7th match weeks of this ongoing tournament, and I'll just quickly give a quick run through of the major results of the past 2 weeks. And in the meantime, I have also shared the standings, how it looks like. So while it's being shared, I'll also just quickly say the results. So Bluefield, Ace Capital, SSC, Coles, Badurilia, NCC and CCC, all of them recorded one win each. And we'll definitely talk about SSC's win, because that was a much needed win for them. And Philomarians, Tamil Union and Nikambu also won one game each, but they also lost one game each. So they played 2 games, won one and lost one. That was Chilamarians, Tamil Union and Nikambu. And Police SC and Kanthur SC lost both of their games, but still they are in a safe zone. They're still in the safe zone when it comes to the points table, because as we know, the bottom 2 teams will be relegated from each group. And BRC, Moas and Kurunagala lost one game each. So yeah, so let's quickly move on to the SSC game, Dellon. I think if we take a look at points table, Group B, yes, that win has boosted their points. They are ahead of Candy Custom CC right now, but they are still under Nugegoda Sports Welfare Club, who have 2 more games remaining, whereas SSC only have 1 more game remaining. So how important do you think was that win against Tamil Union for SSC, Dellon?
Yes, I think in that game they brought in all their experienced players. That was the struggling point for them throughout the season. Most of their experienced players were involved in the national circuit or in other franchise cricket tournaments. So as you said, definitely this game made a huge impact, because they were struggling right throughout in the points table. They were down and under. But whereas in this game, especially the likes of Charita Saranga, Dasun Chanaka, they lifted up their game. Monique Fernando, Siobhan Daniel, all came in handy, and they contributed the maximum they could, and made sure that they gave a winning stance and boosted that energy. And as you said, they are one game ahead of some other teams, but still that would give them some sort of momentum to go on for the last game of the season.
Yes. Yeah, so just to quickly give the timeline of how these national players were brought back to the SSC setup. So Charita Salanka, Avishka Fernando, Dasun Chanaka, they were involved in the International League T20 in UAE, and I think soon after week number 5, so they were brought back to play the games of week number 6 and 7, the 2 weeks that we are covering today. The first game was against Moors. That was a first innings defeat again for SSC, even involving all these players. But fortunately, they managed to beat Tamil Union in their last game. And Charit Tasalanka, the captain, contributed with with a great all-round performance where he grabbed 6 wickets in the first innings and 4 wickets in the second innings, which is like a 10 wicket haul in the game, and also 100 with the bat, where he scored 128 in just 114 balls. Like Dellon said, Nonid Fernando also scored 100, and the highest scorer for SSC in that match was Chevon Daniel with 142 runs. Now that brings me to the next question to you, Dellon. Now we know the Sri Lanka versus Australia ODI series starts just tomorrow, and Charita Salanka is the captain. Nonid Fernando is part of the squad. Dasun Shanaka went back to UAE, didn't play the Tamil Union game, but probably will be back because that tournament is over and might play next week's game against, I think it's against NCC. So, how do you see Charita Salanka not being available? How do you think that will impact for SSC? Even the Dasun Shanaka is back. Nonit Fernandez won't also be available unless Sri Lanka cricket give him a special permission to go and play that game.
Yeah, I think just like you said, they'll try their luck with getting a special permission for whoever's not going to be sticking 15-man squad for the one-day series to come and play during the weekend and try and make impact. And also, I think Prabhat Jayasuri will be coming back in because the test series is over. So that
Yeah.
will add a much bigger impact when it comes to picking up wickets
Yeah.
because SSC, I think, throughout the season, more than their batting, it was the lack of wicket-taking options they had, and that
Okay.
was the problem. Whereas other teams are scoring 300 plus runs, and then they had the struggle. So I think Prabhat Jayasuri will play a big role, and maybe
Dimut
what
Karnara,
about Dimuk Karnara? He
yeah.
might come and play. So that will be interesting call for the replacement of Charita Saranka. So senior lines of experience, whereas I would say Dimuk Karnara has much more experience.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
it will be a win-win situation.
Yeah, so yes, they'll be missing Charita Salanka, but hopefully they'll try to get permission to play Nuanidu. Like Lahiru Udara got permission to play in NCC's game, even though he was part of the Sri Lanka Test squad. And yeah, so that's is where SSC stands currently. Um, I would say in a better situation than where they were 2 weeks ago, but still a lot of work to do because the last game for them is against their neighbors and arch rivals, and most importantly, the current table toppers of Group B, NCC, and they even record won their most recent game. So they are on a roll. It's not going to be easy for SSC, even though Prabhat Jayasuriya and Dimut Karunaratne returns. And quick look at talking about just wrapping up Group B, NCC and Moors are NCC are way ahead of Moors and CCC, and most likely are to end up as the table toppers to make that final. Moors and CCC are close, but it's still a tough task for them to get to where NCC is. And let's quickly shift our focus to Group A, where Coles and Bloomfield and Ace Capital are tussling for the top two spots. For the top, actually, top the single top spot where the group topper will play the final against the group topper of Group B. And if you look at the bottom of the table, Ragama and Nigambo, and also Chilaumerians. So they are in a fight in between them, all neighboring clubs, to try and end up and try and save themselves from relegation. Uh, How do you see these three shaping up for the upcoming 2 weeks, Delon? And all three teams have 2 games each remaining. So how do you see that?
Yeah, and especially for Agama next game, I think they are also going to lose Janit Lienige and Nishan Maling because they are in the one-day squad. So it will be a crucial
I think
test for
Nishan.
them. Yeah, so Ragama will have to look at their options. And I think they had a good first innings outing against Police Sports Club where Janit Denage came and led the side from the front with his batting and all. So I think their next game is Sri Lanka. They recorded outright win, I think, with Panadura, if I'm correct.
Won against Panadura and lost against
Lost,
Badura.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even for Nigambo, they played an impressive game last week with Panadura. They recorded the outright win. So all these teams are having a momentum. It's just that these last two crucial weeks, whoever does the less number of mistakes will come on top, I would say.
Yeah. So I think the upcoming 2 weeks would be the most interesting couple of weeks in this tournament because we would know who will make the finals and also who would miss out on making the cut for the next season, whereas they will get relegated. So yeah, crucial 2 weeks coming up. Now let's quickly move on to the main performers of the week, of the 2 weeks that we are talking about, and hands down the best performance of the 2 weeks that we are talking about would be Charit Tasalanka, where he scored a century and picked up 10 wickets in the same game. So I think everyone knows how good a player he is. But let's quickly talk about his bowling. Yes, we have seen him picking up wickets even against like top batting orders like India in the recent past. The game was at SSC, taking the lead spinners role when they didn't have Prabhat Jayasuriya. They dropped Nimnaka Jayatilaka. How do you see, what do you think Charita Saranga did there? Because that's not something we see him doing, taking up the lead spinners role in a first class match.
I think that comes with I would say confidence because he has played in the national circuit or whatever the franchise league or whatever that is available to be played. So when it comes to a first class game, he knows what he's capable of. Even though he doesn't bowl much in the international circuit, he knows what he's capable of, and especially coming into sportsman's mindset, I would say like confidence plays a big role. And after knowing that you've got to win this game, you've got 100, you've got to believe and make choices for the team. Team's gonna look up at you because you're the most senior player. I think mostly the confidence part played a much bigger role rather than
Yeah.
the skill part where he led from the front, knowing what he can do.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think a great takeaway from that game, Charit Tasalanka's performance, especially with the ball. And Lahiru Udara got to scored a double hundred for NCC against Moors, where in a game where they won. And Lahiru Udara, I think, has been consistently scoring runs, and he has been scoring in a with a really good strike rate as well. So I think that's the speciality about him. I spoke this with Roscoe as well in a previous show where NCC openers always play score runs with a higher strike rate, but they've been doing it consistently. What do you think is the secret?
I think they've spoken as a team. They have spoken what their roles are, how they are going to approach the game. And if your roles are clear in cricket, I think it's very easy to go out there and perform because you know next game, even if you try your role, fail, you're gonna get a chance. But whereas if you're having doubts what my role is, what the team wants out of me, then it's gonna be a problem. So I think as a team, NCC has done a pretty good job speaking to their players and letting them know what they want from them as a team. And outstanding work from the players as well to deliver consistently throughout the season.
Yeah. And a quick question about Lairudar, Dellon. So Dimut Karnaratne is retired. Pathum Nisanka is the other opener. Oshada Fernando couldn't impress much in the last chance he got. Nishan Madushka is dropped. Do you think Lairudar will get the next test for Sri Lanka and get to open with Pathum Nisanka, replacing Dimut?
I think he's giving it a shot. He's speaking to the selectors with the bat, and you never know. He's been consistent throughout a couple of seasons. He's excellent with his footwork when it comes to especially playing spinners. and his approach is quite positive, as you said, with like a good strike rate. So you never know. He's definitely speaking to the selectors. So
Yeah,
just continue the good work, and you'll never know where you'll finish.
brilliant. Yeah, and one such player, similar player is Pawan Ratnayake. He has been scoring loads of runs and another 194 for CCC against NCC in the sixth week. So I think we've spoken enough about Pawan Ratnayake. Is just knocking on the door like Sonal Dinusha. Just I think he is the next youngster to get a call up. There is Pasindu Surya Bandara as well, who are like very closely fighting with runs game after game, not just small runs, big runs. 194 is a huge score. And Dellon, yes, Pawan, about Pawan we know. But Dhananjay Lakshan silently has been scoring a lot of runs this season. So he has scored 150 against Ragama for Coles, and now he is currently the fourth highest run scorer this season with an average of 62, 200s, and 350s. Uh, are we seeing the comeback of Dhananjay Lakshan, the batsman?
Just like I think in previous chats you had with Roscoe, he mentioned how the number of club teams getting reduced has improved the quality of this tournament. So it shows like how many batsmen like you can take Pawan Ratnayake, Sonal Dinusha, Ahan Sanchitas, Pasindu Surya Bandara, Nuwan Fernando, lot of players who are knocking on the door. And at the same time, I think we are lacking all rounder in the test circuit who can play a role in the middle order batting and who can give us bowling skills with especially Dhananjay Lakshan has got the ball to move both ways. So he'll definitely be a key point when it comes to all-round option in the national test circuit. So he's playing a major role and proving himself. Just as I mentioned before, got to keep continuing the good work, and hopefully he'll be getting a comeback chance.
Yeah. So yeah, that's about Dhananjay Lakshan. And two other special performances, special batting performances of the week to talk about. Roshan Vijayanayake, who plays for Nugegoda, scored 200s in the same game against Candy Customs. And then Sahan Arachigi also achieved the same feat playing for NCC against CCC. I mean, so not in the same game, Sahan Arachigi, 100 against CCC and another 100 against Moose. So 200s in two games. But I think we should talk about Roshan Vijayanayake's performance, like 200 same match. You don't see that often, and I'm pretty sure you have seen him very closely. Your teammate, uh, just a word about Roshan Vijayanayak and his performance.
Yes, he's a very dedicated player. Like at practice, I've seen him hit thousands of balls from the start of the session. He's up with his bats till the end. So he comes from very far, like even further than goal, I think. So every day he has to travel up and down, but still, whenever he's around, he'll make the maximum out of it. And I think before this game, he was dropped in the previous game. So this is a very big show up from him to state, look here, I'm still around, and definitely credit and hard work has to be
Yeah.
given to him for every effort that he puts.
36 years of age, and like Delon said, he's coming, like traveling from further from deep down south for practices and turning up every day, and even at this age still puts up performance like this. I think this is what makes Sri Lankan club cricket, domestic cricket competitive, and this is what we want to see. And like Delon said, so we have seen Roshan in close
And
quarters.
if I'm to add a bit, like even for a youngster who's in the team, to have a player of that caliber, that age, to share maturity in the dressing room, like that's a very big plus point for whoever's playing in that kind of age category to share his experience and build up young cricketers coming up.
Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah. So, brilliant performance by Roshan Vijayanayake. And there are another list of players who got hundreds. I'll just quickly read out their names during this past 2 weeks. So, Shewan Daniel, we spoke his 100, where he helped SSC beat Tamil Union. Shehan Jayasuriya, second 100 of the tournament for Chilamarians. Lasit Cruz Pulle, second 100 for CCC. Charita Salankavi spoke. Virakodi scored 100 for Tamil Union. Dasun Shanaka, in the only game he played in the last 2 weeks, scored 100 before he left to UAE for to play for Dubai Capitals. Dasun Shanaka scored 100. Kamil Mishar, after a long time amongst runs with 100. Mudita Lakshan, probably after a long time as well, 100 for Coles. Angelo Jaising, former Sri Lankan 19 player, 100 for Nigambu. Gayan Manishan, 100 for Kurunagala. Nishan Madushka, welcome 100 for him, I think, for CCC. Kavin Bandara, 100 for him for NCC. Nuanithu Fernando, 100 in their win against Tamil Union for SSC. Kevin Pereira, I think a bright young prospect for playing for Nugegoda, has been doing well in the recent past as well, 100 for him. Pasindu Surya Bandar, we'll talk about him separately because now he leads the batting chart. He's got 100 for Moose, Sanuj Darshika for Coles, and Pavanta Veerasinghe for Ace Cabrals. All of them got 100. And I think we definitely should talk about Pasindu Surya Bandar. So Sahan Kosala was leading the batting chart when we did our last show, but now both Pasindu Surya Bandar and Lahiru Udara have taken over Sahan Kosala. We spoke about Lahiru Udara. Quick word on Pasindu Surya Bandar, Sri Lanka A team captain.
Yeah, Pasindu, like I played with him at school level as well.
Yeah,
He was my
he was the
opposing
Roy
captain.
captain when you were captain St.
Yeah,
Thomas, right? Yeah.
yeah, so we've been knowing each other for a long time. And to speak about him, I think his temperament is the main thing behind his batting. And he's a very gutty player. I have seen throughout my school career or whatsoever. Like to share personal experience in the last big match, his shoulder got dislocated, but still he came out to bat, made a half century, tried to save his team. Unfortunately, it didn't go his way. So it shows his character and how well he is prepared. And as you said, he's captain Sri Lanka A. He's got I think 4 to 5 double centuries in the first class arena. So he's a man to watch in for the Sri Lanka Test team, maybe as a number 4 batsman. Which we know in the near future there will be opportunity that's coming up. So he's definitely a person to keep an eye on. He plays spin especially well. He's got his paddle sweeps. So definitely a man to watch out.
Yeah. So look at that average 122 after batting in 8 innings with a total of 610, 200s and 350s, including a double 100. So brilliant stats. And he's just having a great season so far. And yeah, let's quickly move on to the bowling. And in bowling, once again, just like in our last show, we have one man who is topping the best bowling performance chart this week as well, and that's Tharindu Ratnayake, who's, I think, not just this season, but he is having a fantastic 2024 2025. Uh, I said in the previous show as well, was the player of the match in the Hong Kong Sixers, now doing so well, and he's also captain in Tamil Union this time. 13 wickets in the game against BRC. So, Dellon, I think you know about Tharindu Ratnayake as well from your school. So, a quick word on Tharindu Ratnayake and
Yeah,
his particular
he's
performance this season so far.
yeah, and as we all know, he's an ambidextrous spinner, so he can bowl with both hands. That's the main advantage that he has. Whenever right hand or left hand comes, he'll adjust accordingly. And saying about that also, he's a very consistent and a very cunning bowler. I would say, like he'll vary the pace, he'll send one quicker, and he's had loads of experience playing the first class arena. He's played for SSC, SLC Knights, and now captaining a side Tamil Union. So he's definitely leading from the front, and his stats speak a lot of how capable he is to win a game for a team.
Yeah, great. And one such other performer who has, I think, forever been in the top wickets list in Sri Lanka when it comes to Sri Lanka domestic cricket is Malinda Pushpakumara. So he has grabbed a 11 wicket haul as well. So I think if we have to speak about Tharindu Ratnayake and Malinda Pushpakumar. We can keep talking because they keep producing these performances every week. So, Dillon, I would like to take our focus to two debutants who have impressed. So, Inuka Karannagoda, a left-arm spinner, he made his first-class debut for playing for CCC and took 11 wickets in the game against Kurunagala. And Melan Hansaka. So he made his first class debut for Ace Capital and he bagged 5 wicket haul in his first game. That was against Nigambu. And in the next game against Bloomfield, in that game also he picked up a 5 wicket haul. So two impressive debuts for two young spinners. Inuka Karannagoda, left arm spinner for CCC, and Melan Hansaka, leg spinner for Ace Capital. Uh, have you seen these two youngsters?
Yeah, I think Milan Hansaka, I've seen him bowl for his capital, and he's been in the Sri Lanka under 19 circuit as well. And I think he's a bit more quicker through the air, and he's got a good googly, especially with the speed that he's bowling. So again, for the national circuit, we got Van der Sar playing test. So we got another leg spinner that's coming up the ranks just after Sri Lanka under 19. So it's great exposure for youngsters coming up. And speaking of Karan Nagoda, he's been throughout the CCC setup for some time. I've seen him play in the under 23, but he didn't get a chance to play in the CCC first class cricket because Sonal Dinesh was their main left arm and Malinda Kumar was also there. But he made a decision to stick right throughout, and then when Sonal Dinesh went around for the national setup, he got his opportunity. He raised his hand up and said, "Look here, I'm also there now." When Sonaldino comes back, CCC is gonna have to readjust and think, are we gonna play both of them? So it's good to see competition all around and youngsters coming up the ranks as well.
Yeah. So Inuka Karannagoda is a 20-year-old left-arm spinner who studied at Mahanama College, Colombo, and he played for CCC. And Milan Hansaka is still 19 years of age from Sri Dharmaloka College, Kalania. He's a leg spinner who debuted for Ace Capital. So heartening to see debutants performing so well, shoulder to shoulder with the senior pros. And yeah, and talking about more bowling performances in the past 2 weeks, so T. N. Sampath for Nugegoda, Upul Indrasiri for Nigambo, Ashane Daniel after a long time for NCC. We spoke about Charita Salanka's performance with the ball, and Kavika Dilshan for Kurunagala Youth. All of them bagged 10 wicket hauls in the game. Out of these bowlers that I said, Ashane Daniel, I think we definitely need to talk about him. He has been part of Sri Lankan squads, both white ball and red ball, toward India, toward several other places as well. Suddenly was nowhere to be seen, wasn't performing that much, but after a long time, we are seeing him with a 10 wicket haul in a game. Uh, any idea what happened, and can we call this like a comeback performance for Ashane Daniel?
I would say it's a comeback performance, but he's been throughout the first class seasons. It's just that he didn't pick up big wickets. He's got like 2, 3 wickets and like played his part. Not that he has made an impressionist performance, whereas now again he's made the big major upliftment for his stats. So I would say he has been failed and then now giving a comeback. He's been doing quite okay. Now he's lifted up his standard a bit more to another step. And even speaking of his batting, he is the one who saved the game for NCC with Lasit Tambuldeni on the other side against Nugegoda.
Yeah,
He's capable all round as well, and
definitely. Yeah.
he's young off spinner coming up for national pressure as well. We've got Dellon Peiris, Ramesh Mendis. So next in line, I think is Ashen Daniel.
Yeah. So I think that's good competition to see. So since you brought up that Ashin Daniel next in, and I think it's one other off spinner who was almost there to make get his test cap was Lakshita Manasinghe. Now suddenly we are seeing like a slight drop in his performances, but I'm praying that he also gets back into like good form and give more competition to Nishan Peiris, Ramesh Mendis, and Ashane Daniel as well. Um, and talking about fast bowlers, so even though we generally look at best performers in batting and bowling, I give a I give special attention to the fast bowlers who have done well, because most of the time the top performers would be all spinners when it comes to bowling in our domestic cricket. So in the last 2 weeks, the fast bowlers who picked up 5 wicket hauls are Mohammad Dilshad and Mohammad Shiraz. So these are their second 5 wicket hauls in this season for both of them. Mohammad Dilshad plays for Panadura and he picked up 5 wicket haul against Nigambu. And Mohammad Shiraz playing for BRC picked up a 5 wicket haul against Tamil Union. So Mohammad Shiraz is in the Sri Lanka ODI squad as well. Mohammad Dilshad, we spoke about him with Roscoe in a previous episode. Um, just again, Dellon, about Dilshad, is like has he passed that age where he could fight for a national spot, or age is just a number? What do you think?
Uh, Tough question to answer, but if you're fit enough and the national
Yeah,
setup thinks, okay, he's fit enough, regardless of his age, he should be given a chance, is my opinion. If he's
yeah,
fit enough and he's proving with his stats.
yeah. So just since we brought up this age and getting a national call up late, Nisala Tarak, after a long, lengthy wait, I think he kept on performing in domestic Sri Lanka, everything, and finally got his call up for a tour to England. Unfortunately, he couldn't play a game, but I think Nisala Taraka's effort to get that call up is like testament to what Dillon just said. Like, doesn't matter how old you are, if you're fit and if you keep performing, um, you might get the reward. And yeah, so finally, before wrapping up, let's quickly take a look at the most wicket takers list. So Dilum Sudhir continues to lead the pack with 52 wickets. Tharindu Ratnayake 7 wickets behind him with 45 wickets. Ravindu Fernando 38 wickets. Nalin Priyadarshana 38 wickets and Malindu Pushpakumara 37 wickets. So just as we pointed out last week, it's all spinners in the top. So we just make a conscious effort to speak about the fast bowlers who do well every week. So yeah, that's about what happened in the last 2 weeks. And as I said in the beginning, the upcoming 2 weeks would be very, very crucial, because it's make or break for most of the teams. Delon, predictions. I mean, I think it's with just 2 weeks to go. Probably we could make a prediction.
As a playing setup, I don't want to like jinx it. But SSC has a good tough game with NCC. That will be a major game next week to watch out. I think every cricket fan will be following the stats on that game ball by ball, because that's going to be a big game, and even for other teams, they'll be watching that game. And
Yeah,
the Nukegoda has two more games, so they will be eyeing to get more points as much as possible. Even Candy Custom, they can give it a shot with maybe an innings outright win. And
yeah.
Ragama, they've got 2 games coming up. Only thing they'll be lacking the experience of Janit Lienage and Sham Malinga.
Krishnan Malinga,
And
yeah.
Chill Out and Nigambo, they've had good momentum in the last couple of weeks. So good tough cricket coming up. Especially, I think even more than the last week, it's this week that's gonna give everyone a picture of where it's gonna end up next week.
Yeah. So that's about it. And thank you very much, Delon, for joining. It was great having you and talking to you. And yes, like we said, very excited to see what happens in the upcoming 2 weeks, and eagerly waiting to see who will make the final and who will be the four unlucky teams to get relegated. We'll be back after 2 weeks with the fourth episode of our series covering SLC Major Club a 3-day tournament 2024-2025 season. Until that, keep following the matches and let's meet in 2 weeks.